needed Michigan's 108th district. They needed the 108th district to do it. I was at Wayne State Law School at the time, and I didn't want the Democrats to take the Michigan House. So went back 500 miles home, knocked on 15,000 doors, wore out about 3 pairs of shoes and 2 prosthetic legs, but we got the doors done. We won that election. And ever since then, I've governed like a conservative. Tax cuts, repealing prevailing wage, cutting the cost of car insurance. When Gretchen Whitmer showed up, I was the first lawmaker to issue a press release and file a lawsuit against her executive orders, and sued Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson 6 times over illegal orders relating to decimation of our election integrity measures. So I've been fighting for my district for the last 6 years, and now I want to fight as the next Republican Secretary of State.
Why'd you decide to run?
Well, just like when I ran for office in 2016, the Democrats put up the sitting sheriff who in the Upper Peninsula was pro-life and pro-Second Amendment. I knew he wasn't going to be easily beaten. They put 600 grand up against me, but I won anyway because of hard work. I looked at our field of candidates for Secretary of State, and I realized that no one could beat her. She's going to spend $600,000. She's going to spend $10 million on getting reelected. Karamo has never ran a campaign ever. And Cindy Berry has never gone up against the Democratic machine. At 23, when they put both barrels to my chest and pulled the trigger, when the smoke cleared, a winner came out, and that winner was me. The other 2 have no idea what that's like. And that's no offense to them. I've got nothing but respect for my 2 fellow candidates, but you can't just wake up one day and say, hey, you know what? I think I'd like to take out the 3rd most important incumbent in the statewide election in Michigan and go up against $10 million and think that you're just going to be able to do it. I put in the work. I know how to campaign. And my fellow candidates on the Republican side just don't.
You know, and that's a big concern, you know, because again, as I prefaced my earlier statement that we don't get to vote unless you're a delegate. You know, how do we influence that a little bit? Because I have genuine concerns, and I think most of us do. This is serious business. You know, I mean, forget all the smoke and bluster out there in our national politics and even in our state politics. I think, and maybe you could disagree with me, and please do. You know, but the state party seems to be imploding. You know, I'm not seeing the kind of leadership putting the best face forward, and more importantly, the best candidates forward. It just seems it makes a lot of people uneasy out here. How are you handling that? Or share with me, maybe I'm mistaken about, you know, how the state party is running this. And I don't mean just at the Secretary of State level, but I mean even on the AG side of that. How do you see things?
Well, at 18 months, they amputated my left leg at the knee. So I know something about putting your best foot forward, and that's what we have to do in this election. It's necessary to win in November. If we don't win in November, putting up the most bestest candidate that makes all of us, you know, when we look in the mirror, they look identical to us, or they have you know, the best words, whatever it might be, all that's great. But if they lose in November, nothing matters. And the problem right now that we have is that Michon Maddock is in charge of the party, and she has the ear of Donald Trump. And apparently she just whispers stupid things into his ear. That's the biggest problem we have right now, is that we've got a pair who could not take over Oakland County Republican Party and have tried for years, are now in charge of the Michigan Republican Party and are telling Donald Trump terrible advice. So I know she's lied to my face before. How many lies is she telling the former president? I have no idea, but it seems like whenever she tells him to do something, it happens. And that's exactly what happened. Again.
Have you ever had any conversations with the former president at all? I know he's huge on the Christina Karamo bandwagon, and he's publicly endorsed her, right?
Yes. That's because Michon Maddock told him to. And no, I haven't had any opportunity to meet with the former president. He endorsed a week before I got in the campaign. I told Sean Maddock I was getting in. She encouraged me, told me she would stay out and stay impartial. That didn't happen. He endorsed her within a week before I was about to announce. So no, I've never gotten a chance to meet with the president, went to his rallies in the past. I'm a big supporter of his agenda. Nobody fought harder for important conservative reforms that he was pushing than I did. But no, because apparently the Maddocks don't like me. I never got to meet the president.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too, so for our listening audience in particular, nobody can call you a non or a never Trumper, because you certainly are a Trump Republican, right? So I don't want that to seem like that's discounted in this whole process. But I have some concerns too, even on the Attorney General side. Were you able to attend the rally this past Saturday or no?
No, they shut the Mackinac Bridge down on me.
Oh, that's right. Falling ice. Yeah. Jeez. Lucky you.
I saw a video of it. It was coming down.
Yeah, I heard.
It was a chunk that had hit the concrete and dented it. So I'm glad nobody got hurt, thank goodness. But when I was about 20 minutes away, they shut it down, and I was not a happy camper.
I got you. I want to ask you about the Secretary of State's office too. I mean, you from a legislative standpoint, it's not like you haven't had a bird's eye view of the inadequacies or inefficiencies or anything of the sort, even the good or bad for that matter. How do you see changing? You win. Let's say you come out April 23rd as the nominee and you win. What are the changes you'd make right away? What are the necessary things that Secretary of State Beau LaFave would put in place?
Well, number one, we need to open the offices to walk-in appointments. Individuals need to be able to go into the offices at normal business hours and extended business hours on such as Wednesday and Saturday. But the offices need to be open. Secretary Benson set it up so if you didn't get an appointment, you couldn't get any work done. And I know, I live in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. It's one of the poorest house districts in the state of Michigan. Not everybody's driving around Lamborghinis that have service contracts. Some people have a car that's a 1998 Honda Accord, and when it breaks down, they got to go buy a new one. Well, they didn't plan 6 weeks in advance when their car was going to break down. So they need to be able to get into the office of Secretary of State and register their vehicle, get their driver's license renewed. I mean, we had healthcare workers, police officers, and firefighters who would schedule an appointment 8 months, 6 months, 3 months in advance. And then somebody would get shot and they needed to go into work. Somebody's house would light on fire. So they had to go investigate the murder, and they missed their appointment because they were working. And then all of a sudden they're getting late fees, and now they're getting, not have a driver's license or their tabs unrenewed. So we need to open the offices to walk-in appointments. Number two, our website's a disaster. You can do almost nothing online. If you go to beaulafave.com and look at that versus what her website looks like, that's something I can do on day one. We need to get rid of MERTS. MERTS is the Michigan Campaign Finance Service. To this day, I don't know where to find it on her website. I've been in office for 5.5 years. So I just go to Google and search what I look for, and it's the fourth link down. If I want to find where Joe Bellino's campaign finances are or something, it's not hard to Google it, but I can't navigate to it on her website. Plus the software looks like it was straight out of 1980. It's impossible to actually look things up with that unless you have a doctorate degree in, 1980s technology. So we'll get rid of that. We also need to bring back the integrity of the office itself. Number one, I sued her. I don't even remember the number of lawsuits that I had, but I won at least 6 lawsuits. So there must have been 7. I only lost 1. She wanted to ban firearms at every polling location in the state of Michigan illegally. I sued her and I won. She wanted to count ballots 10 days postmarked after the election. I sued her and I won in court before the 2020 election. And she wanted to get rid of signature verification for absentee ballots across the state of Michigan. I sued her and I won. So if voter integrity is the number one issue for you when you're looking at the Secretary of State position. I don't disagree with you one bit. And I've been focusing on that before anyone else in the state of Michigan, and certainly my other candidates for office. Election integrity has suddenly become popular after the 2020 election. I've been doing it since before then, when it mattered. So I think those are really important things. And finally, I would say, as a lawmaker, as a legislator, I'm a partisan. I'm a Republican. I don't think anybody would be surprised to hear that. But when you're looking at an executive office, enforcing of laws, it shouldn't matter who your suspect is. You should enforce those laws equally. Jocelyn Benson, when you have an R next to your name, you pay double the fine of what the illegally raised money was. But if Governor Whitmer raises $3.4 million of campaign funds illegally, that's okay. Just give it to Planned Parenthood. It's all fine. Don't worry about it. No fines, no $6.8 million fine, no referral to the Attorney General's office for prosecution. So Jocelyn Benson is taking a playbook out of the old Soviet Union. Mercy for my friends and justice for my enemies. As the next Secretary of State, I will enforce campaign finance laws equally, regardless of party. And if you plan on breaking campaign finance law, I humbly request that you vote for Jocelyn Benson in November.
Well said. So how do you plan to address this come convention time? I mean, we talk truth to power, and right now it looks like the odds are stacked against you, especially with the former president's endorsement of Christina. How do you walk in there and change that?
Well, number one, I've been underestimated and outcounted, and odds stacked against me since day one, when they airlifted me to Milwaukee Children's Hospital and spent next 6 weeks in intensive neonatal care. I know exactly what it's like to be behind the 8 ball and counted out. In fact, the last 2 elections that I had, it was weird. I was the front runner. I felt very odd. So I'm back to my roots here of winning tough elections. What it's going to take is money, phone calls, Lincoln Day dinners, and a good message, and communicating that to the 3,000 precinct delegates in the state of Michigan. For example, I was supposed to get to the Alcona Republican event, Lincoln Day dinner, the other day. That's when a bridge shut down on me. I was 200 miles away from home when that happened. It was only 300 miles to get there, so I was kind of annoyed. But when the bridge shut down, I turned around and I went somewhere I wasn't planning on going to. I went to the Baraga County Lincoln Day dinner. They've got 3 precinct delegates, but I went because I love Baraga, but also because 3 votes in an election of 3,000 make a difference. So we went up there. Yes, it was 600 miles. Yes, it was 8 hours on the road and basically 12 hours away from home, but there were 3 delegates, and that was a Lincoln Day dinner up there. And so I was already out on the road. We went there anyway. Certainly would have preferred to go to Alcona. And I mentioned that at the event. It was 50 votes there, not just 3, but spoke to him on the phone. Getting out there and doing the hard work is necessary. And that's what I'm going to do. We've got an ad right now, an audio visual ad. I want to call it a TV ad, but I'm not putting it on television. That'll be a giant waste of money. But we've got an ad out right now talking about how I've been a fighter for important issues my whole time in the last 6 years. But I need to get mail out there. I need to be able to mail postcards that talk about me being a pro Second Amendment, always endorsed by the NRA kind of guy. Being 100% pro-life, voting for individual liberty over money and powerful lobbyist groups in Lansing, always focused on making sure that individual liberties are protected and fought for, and rights. I think that's what people want in a representative. I know that's what they want in a senator and a governor and a secretary of state and a president. But I need to give them that message. And I mean, there's only 3,000 of them. So I've called I think all but 500 of them so far, cold called. I've
Wow.
got about 500 calls to make, and when I get done here, I'm gonna get out of this suit and get to back to phone calls.
I'm glad to see you dressed up for me. That's nice. It's been, I got to tell you, a big compliment to you. It's been great watching your evolution as a legislator, you know, coming in. And I think you'd probably say you were hit the ground running like this big splash. I kind of see that in Timmy Beeson right now too. You know, it's like, who doesn't know Timmy Beeson? Like I didn't
That's a
know.
good man.
Well, I know it is. Who didn't know Beau LaFave? But I've watched you grow really politically, and it's been wonderful to see how you've taken on some of these issues instead of being the quote of the day. You know, you've put a lot of substance behind a lot of the issues that you've brought to bear, and I want to compliment you on that. I really do, because I think sometimes, you know, we could be overly critical, and in many respects we turn a blind eye to the vulnerabilities of some of our folks. But I've seen yours and seen you grow beyond them. So that's where I really wanted you to have an audience with our folks so that they could get a chance to see and hear who Beau LaFave is. And I really, really wish you the very best. Is there anything else you want to leave our folks with, how we can help you, or last word's yours?
I certainly appreciate it very much. You know, you talk about me growing as an individual. If I'd have been elected a couple of years earlier, I would have been literally still growing. I was 23 when I announced announced in 24 when I won my primary in general and got to Lansing. Heck, I'll be 30 now. So I beat the Democrats when I was 24, when they spent 600 grand to 300 grand. At 30, I should be able to beat Jocelyn Benson's $10 million. But some of the things that you mentioned, yeah, obviously I'm a joking kind of guy. I do enjoy humor in life. When you look at the lockdowns, you look at the inflation, you look at the fact they want to shut off our propane to 500,000 people in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
If you're not laughing, you're crying. And that's why I use humor, because things are terrible right now. And our economy is in a death spiral. I'm terrified of stagflation. I've never seen it in my lifetime, and I don't want to see it. But some of the important issues that need to be tackled, I've worked on. I've spent 5.5 years trying to work on the reimbursing the locals and fully funding the veterans property tax exemption. I think that's important. That's a $50 million a year loss to our local units of government. And it's been a real pain in the butt to try to fix, but I think we're going to get it done in the next couple months here. I guess I've worked on so many broad swaths of issues. It's hard to focus on one or two or three even. I guess I would just say, if guns are your thing, I'm your guy. If pro-life is your thing, then I'm your guy. If thoughtful, kind of nuanced, but will work and are fiscally conservative changes to issues are your issue, that'd make me your guy. I've worked on tough issues before, and I'm going to continue to work on tough issues as the next Secretary of State. Next week, I'm introducing a bill to cut the cost of vehicle registration by 20%. People can't afford to get their vehicles registered, so they just don't. We can't have that. That's the same problem we had with car insurance. It was too friggin' expensive, so people couldn't afford it. So we need to lower that. I will say the thing that I need more than anything else, other than another cup of coffee to make those next 500 phone calls, is I need some financial contributions. I really need help getting that message out and reminding folks of the hard work that I put in on statewide issues, and that what happens in November matters more than anything else. And if we put up somebody who has no campaign experience, has never beaten the Democrat machine, that is a great candidate, they'll lose. And we can't have that. If we want another 4 years of shutdown offices, go ahead and nominate one of my two fellow candidates at convention, because they will lose in November. We'll get Gretchen Whitmer raising another untold millions of dollars of campaign finances illegally. We'll have more illegal rules passed by the secretary with no input by the legislature. and undermining election integrity, and frankly, making it impossible for our clerks to know what the hell they have to do. Pardon my French. I'm going to stop all that. We're going to fix the website. We're going to open the offices, but I need to win in less than 3 weeks to do it. And I could really use some help.
Oh, do me a favor then, when you hang up or when you're off, just text me how we can do that, because we've gotten that information out to our membership, and they'll get a chance to view this as well too. So anyone who's interested in helping Representative LaFave out in his quest to become Secretary of State, I'll provide that information to you. So you can shoot that over to me when you're right before you make your 499th call.
Well, and it's beaulafave.com too. It's pretty easy to get to. And I promise, if you look at my website, compare that to Secretary Benson's, tell me which one's easier to figure out how to get through.
Perfect. Hey, listen, I appreciate your time more than you know, and really the best of luck, and God bless you. And thanks for everything you do. And I'll catch you in Lansing next week.
It's been an honor to work with you, sir. ABC of Michigan is one of the best organizations out there fighting for their people's rights, their members' rights. And I appreciate working with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Rep. Appreciate it. So now you got a chance to see a really good guy. And I forget what he's running for. I mean, he's really fun to work with. And I say that seriously because he's a very serious legislator, but he infuses a lot of humor in what he does. And I think it makes him really effective. It's funny to watch him gain that kind of respect, because I think when he first came in, it was kind of a little bit of a joke, but now I mean, people take him very seriously. And I hope, you heard Christina Caramo earlier on when we first started doing this, and now you heard Beau LaFave, and I think you can recognize we really do have some serious problems with the Secretary of State. Too many people don't. I think they just look at license plates, and too many people they get that surface idea of what the Secretary of State does. But from an association standpoint, when you start talking about campaign finance, things of that nature, he brought up some incredibly valid points, and that's where the Secretary of State's office is supposed to have domain and supposed to have some authority to thwart some of the things that Governor Whitmer is doing. But again, when you're partial, you don't get that. So I hope you consider him, just like we had Christina Caramo. I invited Christine Perry on, but she has not responded back to me yet. So if she does before April 23rd, I'll certainly try to provide her an audience. But I think between and Beau is right. Let's face it, it's a tough uphill battle, both with that and the Attorney General's office. There's so much gamesmanship. And I've been very, very critical of it. And I don't care if people get mad at me or not. Somebody was talking about me the other day saying, what all you talk about are Republicans. And I said, yeah, but let me tell you this. I don't know the last time you walked down your subdivision, knocked on somebody else's door, and told them how to raise their damn kids. If you can get out of there without getting hit in the face or shot, you're lucky. But the fact of the matter is, as Republicans, we have a very vested interest in being critical of an operation that is getting in the way of our gains or getting in the way of really good candidates. And if we don't open up and share that, then shame on us. So I hope people take that into consideration. I don't worry about somebody else's kids. I don't worry about what Democrats do. Democrats do Democratic shit. They're supposed to. I mean, why would I be mad at that? So the idea now is to make sure that we put our best foot forward. And I think as advocates and ambassadors for ABC, that you take the same hard line. And I say this all the time. We just do not have a soft landing. And there's so much stuff stacked up against us right now. It's crazy. And so following, popularity or anything of the sort is not an ABC way. So I hope you can appreciate my passion and why I get so pissed off when things are getting in the way of some of our legislative gains or some of the people that we need to have in office. So with that in mind, I don't have another guest coming on today because I did want to remind you, and you're going to see a lot of this. We have ABC National coming in on May 3rd and May 4th. They're going to be at Greater Michigan chapter on May 3rd. And please pay attention to the notices. We really want to do a big rollout. There are some things I'm working with ABC National on. We just got $80,000. I'll just let you know this. My board knows we had an $80,000 marketing grant. So you're going to start to see a bunch of Merit Shop, a bunch of ABC blips, blips, some billboards strategically placed. letters to the editor. I mean, we're going to go for a full-blown splash, probably starting the 1st of May, right up through the election. We really want to educate not just new legislators coming in, which is a huge concern for me, mind you. I spent Thursday, Friday, and most of Saturday talking to potential candidates for office about ABC. There's still like ignorance out there. So we're going to use a lot of our marketing money to continuously waterboard what Merit Shop is and who we are as an association. Also on May 4th in Grand Rapids, Tudor Dixon will be there. And if you didn't notice, she really got a really great shout out by the president or former president on Saturday. On May 4th, she'll be there. She'll also be at Southeast with ABC National. We're going to talk some really down and dirty politics about who, what, when, where, and how with ABC National, handicapping our opportunities here. We will invite some candidates for office because the legislators will be in session. So chances are they won't be there, but that's okay. It's a great opportunity for us to bring in people who want to go to Lansing. And we've done a lot of endorsements there too. Also, your chapter presidents have a list of endorsed candidates in their districts. I'm going to implore them, like I do almost every day, to get those, get that information out there with these endorsed candidates on their own websites, their newsletters. It's so important that they push out and publicize who the ABC candidates are. We're getting a lot of primaries. We have up until April 9th, and God, I can't wait for that day to hit so we can figure out who, what, when, and where. There may be another slew of candidates coming in. I even heard just yesterday that somebody's pissed off about the governor's race, and so they may get in, and it's a mess. But anyway, that being said, it's just important for you, again, as ABC folks, to make sure that we're pushing out the right people, because I think, unfortunately, and we've witnessed this in 3 different races already, where these third candidates, who are not the best candidates, mind you, are winning offices, or they're getting in the way of really good candidates. And so if we're not out there publicizing, pushing our folks, we wind up with lesser evils, and that's not something that ABC can afford right now, or lesser or evils for that matter. So again, please pay attention to those. And with that in mind, I don't know if anybody has anything else, but if you don't, I'm going to end the session and you can start your Monday off. I got a bunch of calls to make, not 500 like Beau. I got a lot of candidate interviews to do today and tomorrow while they're still out on session. And I think that's pretty much it. I don't know if anybody has anything. If you do, you can raise your hand or speak up now, or forever hold your peace. You don't. All right. God bless you all. Have a great day. Stay healthy out there, and we'll talk soon. Peace out.